Not my greatest playing there, but I'm going to try and be quick with these because even though there's 2 pedals in the shot, it's 3 different overdrive circuits that I want to get through. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is this double pedal here. You can't see it because it's face up like that, but this one combines my Archetype O.D and my impact driver designs together in one enclosure. Usually these double pedals I build in a slightly larger enclosure, but this is my personal one that I built for myself and have now decided to sell because I have some revisions and things I want to play around with that I'm going to build in a larger box, which may come out as a new revision that I'll be selling normally. But anyways, the main point is, on the right side, the Archetype O.D, which is the green drive, that's basically a hot-rodded TS-808 circuit. This side, the impact driver, is somewhere between the Way Huge Red Llama and the design that was based off of the Craig Anderton Tube Sound Fuzz. So, yeah, I'm playing my Telecaster into Blues Junior, and the clean tone, as you heard there, well, it's like, well, that's the bridge. So I'll start out with the green side, the Archetype side, so you can easily get your standard tube screamer type sounds. That. So yeah, it emphasizes the mid-range, does all that stuff. This hot-rodded version of that classic circuit has an improved output section, so instead of just a standard bipolar junction transistor buffer, I've changed it to a MOSFET boost stage that still keeps a very nice low output impedance, but also gives plenty of output volume. So, you have a bit more boost at your disposal. It also has a wider gain range, so you can get both more and less gain than a normal tube screamer provides. Kind of like the Robert Keeley mods, which I actually borrowed a couple when designing this. The tone control I tweaked a bit just to work a bit better. So you can get that nice bright cutting sound, or you can go for a darker. Much smoother sound. I tend to keep it like right around 1 o'clock. And then this here is a bass control, which is inspired from the Paul Cochran Timmy. So roughly around 3 o'clock or so, it's the standard tube screamer amount of low end, but you can increase the range of the overdrive towards the low end. Tighten it up by turning it all the way to the right. And the last thing on this side is a three-way clipping diode switch, which changes the amount of clipping and diode compression going on in the circuit. Up is, the amount you would expect from a tube screamer, the most heavily compressed. Down, it changes to a slightly asymmetrical configuration with a bit more headroom, which is really fun to play around with extra gain and a bit more low end. And then in the middle, it basically just removes the diodes from the circuit altogether, the clipping diodes, and you end up with just, op-amp distortion. It's a subtle thing, and it has more to do with the feel and the onset of compression and everything than the actual sound, but if you find a tube screamer way too compressed, that's nice and handy to adjust. I personally like the compressed sound, but there are times where I'm wanting, a bit more, touch sensitivity, and so I just dial it in. And if you're using if you like the idea of using a tube screamer as just a mid-range heavy boost, you just put it in the middle, and it'll give you a more open yet mid-heavy sound. So that's all on this side. On this side, the way huge Red Llama inspired side, the impact driver. So how would I describe that? It's a much flatter EQ than you would get with the tube screamer. The breakup is, a lot of people I've seen on forums describe it as kind of tweedy styled, so like a small cranked up tweed amp. Definitely more hair around the edges. I built this slightly more to the specs of the original Craig Anderton's Tube Sound Fuzz, which the difference there is a current limiting resistor, which I chose a smaller value to let more voltage through to the circuit. So if I were to change that more to the Red Llama type spec, there'd probably be even more hair through, but I decided to go for a slightly less ragged, part configuration with the value I chose. That's beside the point. The point is, it's a cool sounding thing. I usually keep it cranked up because it's one of those ones that has a pretty narrow gain range. Like this is it all the way down. That's it all the way up. Like, it still has a decent gain range, but it doesn't go too crazy. You know, it does do a nice cranked up amp kind of thing. I added two tone controls, so one for the treble. I tend to keep it around noon or 1-ish for the treble. And then this one is for the bass, but it's not a traditional one. It's basically just, it allows you to sweep in between two input caps, so that, you know, if you want a thinner sound, you turn it all the way to the right. If you want a thicker sound, turn it to the left. Not a huge difference, but it's there, and, you know, if you're finding you're not cutting, you just dial this up a bit for a tighter sound. Sorry for all the blues clicks, but that's the way my playing is. I would love to have demos from other players. If you're interested in buying a pedal or whatnot, well, buy it and then you can make a demo of it. Although, not so much for people outside of Toronto, but people in the Toronto area, I have been getting you know, a few demos made up, and I'm very appreciative of those people. But getting back to the point, so this switch here bypasses this gain pot and basically maxes out the gain. It doesn't get too crazy, but there's a bit more here. A bit more low end. And these two circuits pair very well together. They should, because Way Huge, you know, his Green Rhino and Red Llama circuits, he put them together in what's called the Camel Toe Overdrive, a double overdrive similar to this. I did a kind of similar thing, except I, you know, did my own versions of each circuit, and I plan on doing future revisions of them and me doing the same kind of thing, but I went one up. So you can stack these two together. Hopefully that doesn't sound like a complete mess there. I'll dial in something a bit more fine-tuned. Yeah, hopefully that's not, you know, sounding too muddy or anything here. It actually does sound like a good lead tone through the amp in the room and everything. But yeah, if you set it up with this switch up, it's the Archetype side going into the impact driver side. Sorry for that crackling sound. That's my strap locks on my Telecaster. the bridge pickup picks up the sound of that. But yeah, the way it's set up with this up, it's this going into this, so this is acting kind of like a crank damp kind of thing, and then you're boosting it with a tube screamer. When you flip this down, it's the other way around. It's like having a tube screamer after this, and so yeah, you notice that it gets much more focused, a bit nasalier. That's because you're having a more mid-range focused circuit right after the circuit that's providing the initial gain. So yeah, these two circuits pair well together. And normally when I build a double drive pedal like this, I put them in you know, a larger enclosure, like I said, but this one, it was a personal thing, and I've had it on, well, in my rig for a while, but it's time to move on. So usually for a double build like this, I charge around $220 Canadian. This one I'm letting go for $170, just because, you know, I have plans and I want to make them soon, so hopefully that lower price will draw in a buyer soon. It's a great pedal. I've loved the sounds I've gotten out of it. Like the circuit boards I've designed myself and everything, and it's all wired by me. Like, oh, this switch here is a consequence of having a smaller box than what I usually use. You know how when you have a pedal, you have to have it plugged in before, sorry, you know how if you don't have it plugged in, the battery gets cut off. That's a you know, a fail-safe so that you don't accidentally drain your battery if yeah. Anyways, that switch is there because I couldn't fit in this the special stereo jack that's required to do that, to unplug and cut off the battery from the circuit. Yeah, so that's all I'll talk about for this double drive. Again, 170 for this specific one. It's my personal one, so whoever gets this, take care of it and everything. And it just works well with all my guitars, and I've been able to get a lot of sounds out of it, from the humbuckers in my SG or Les Paul to my Strat or Telly, and you know, it even works to a nice degree with a certain degree with my jazz bass. Moving on. This one only has the one sticker on here. It doesn't say Compulsion Driver on it, but that's what it is. It's my Compulsion Driver circuit, which, as you may guess, is based on the full-tone OCD. I originally wasn't gonna make a big run of these, but then I got some PCBs in, and well, I'm making a run of these. So it's based on the full-tone OCD, but again, with a Timmy-style bass control, because I find the OCD can either be way too bassy or, you know, just the low end doesn't always suit the occasion I need it for. The tone control, I changed around a bit so that when you turn it up, it does cut highs, but it also, as you turn it up, it starts acting as a bright cap. I made it so it has the same frequency response as the OCD does. In fact, this switch here is the same as that LP-HP switch, so that you can change the cutoff frequency of the tone control. But I just made it so it's a little bit more versatile for my needs. You may notice a difference. If you do, I hope you like it. If not, well, it works the same way. Otherwise, the rest of the circuit, I based on all my favorite bits of different revisions of the OCD. So it has the the gain pot that has the largest range of gain available, so from the most gain to the least amount of gain. And the volume pot, it's a larger value one, but that's okay. It doesn't cause output impedance issues because I added the same output section as I did with my Archetype O.D. So it's still like a Class A MOSFET boost thing, but it also provides a low output impedance. So it'll play nicely with other things later on in your signal chain, which is a big problem with a lot of earlier OCDs. The way they're made now, Fulltone puts in JFET boost stages on the front end and back end of the circuit. I decided to go with a MOSFET simply because I don't have to worry about biasing as much as I would with a JFET. Plus, I like the sound of this particular MOSFET boost. It's based off of the Jack Warman MOSFET booster, and I find it works great at the tail end of any circuit, usually. Let's get to some sounds. Oh yeah, I also did the clipping diode arrangement so that it's still the MOSFET transistor clipping, but with the one germanium diode, so it's slightly asymmetrical. Whether that means anything to you or not, it just adds a little bit more uneven harmonics just to give it a little bit of a richer sound, let's say. So let me turn this up. I'd say roughly in around this area is the normal range of low end that you get with the normal OCD. Let's turn up the big low end. So it has a nice upper end sizzle to it, which is to be expected because a lot of people use this style pedal to emulate crank Marshall tones. Turn up the gain there, lower the tone a little bit. Out of whack, but anyways, so you can get thicker tones like that. If it's a little too fizzy for you, you can tame a little bit of it by flipping that switch, and it changes the cutoff frequency. So I'd say that the EQ curve of this isn't quite as flat as like the impact driver I showed you earlier, but it's definitely not as mid-range humped as a tube screamer. So when you put one in front of it, which I'll do now, bump it up if you put it like a tube screamer or something mid-range heavy in front of it. So yeah, as you can hear, this has a lot of I won't say fizz, sizzle, all these subjective words. Like it's not very, it's not harsh, but it does have that top end sizzle to it, which is nice. A lot of people like. I personally like it for some things, but you know, at lower gain settings, you have much less of it. So. And like the earlier OCDs that were produced, you know, they had a gain potentiometer that was half the value, so like the max gain probably would have been somewhere like there anyways. So this is, anything past that is just, you know, just gravy, just extra. Adding, you know, extra gain that you can use if you want. If you don't want, you just turn it down. Now the OCD, just from the nature of the circuit, has more output to it than Tube Screamer does. So I didn't have to configure the boost stage at the end to have extra output. So if I set it up for an even EQ or thereabouts, there's a little bit of change there to the gain structure of the signal, but it does get pretty nice, and you know, you can use it as a clean boost if you want. It won't be a pristine clean. There will be some artifacts, but it'll sound good enough. But one of the really fun things to do, and you have to do it carefully because it can easily get too bold and muddy, is just crank the bass control all the way to the left. Carefully dial in treble and gain. I heard Brian Wampler say in a video once that, you know, to produce fuzz, one of the big components of making a fuzz is letting a lot of bass end go through. That's what gives that fuzzy, you know, woolly sound. And you have to be careful with it because you can easily go overboard. But with this, in some contexts, you can easily get a nice fuzzy overdrive sound that's just, you know, it sounds really cool. And if I were playing any of my other guitars, that it might even be even more suited with humbuckers, or maybe less, I don't know. I should know, I played it through my SG and Les Paul. But the point is, yeah, it's much easier to make the sound of mud, but guess what? You know, when you were a kid, you probably played in mud, so, you know, you probably thought it was fun then. Well, in this different context altogether, it's still fun playing with mud. And you can keep, you know, the bass cranked in with lower gain settings. It'll still work nicely. And then if you want a lead boost, you know, kick on a tube screamer circuit or a treble booster or something, and that'll just, you know, push all the frequencies except the bass, and you'll get that lead tone. I don't currently have a treble booster here. I actually just delivered the treble booster I built up last night to a customer. Hopefully he enjoys it. It's called the Hideaway Boost, by the way. But, the tube screamer thing. So, you know, you want to boost something with a lot of that has a lot of bass in it. You put in something without a lot of bass, treble booster, or you know, a low end rolled off on a overdrive in front of it. That's what you do. Anywho, I've probably talked long enough, and hopefully, you know, you enjoyed the playing, despite it not being my best, and being, you know, buffered by a lot of unnecessary talking on my end. But essentially, this whole video was about just showing you a few of the drive circuits that I currently produce. So the Archetype Overdrive, the Impact Driver, and the Compulsion Driver, all available from Tom Freeman Audio Effects. The Compulsion Driver, well, all three circuits as standalone circuits I would sell for about 160. Unfortunately, I used to do it 150 Canadian, but unfortunately, you know, cost of parts and everything, I've had to go up a bit. So 160 for a format with a single circuit like this. So this Compulsion Driver would be 160. In a double format, normally I do roughly about 220. But this specific one, which you'll be seeing on Reverb, maybe right now if you found this video through Reverb, I'm going to be posting it to a listing for this pedal. This specific one is going to be for 170 Canadian. So if that interests you, by all means, get in touch with me. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Like, I've designed the printed circuit boards. I use, you know, switchcraft jacks, alpha pots, good quality metal film caps, and resistors, and you know, I try to use, like, not the best in the world, like they're not gold plated or anything, but I use really good quality components when I can. And yeah, they aren't covered in fancy artwork right now, but you know, it's the sound that these circuits provide that I try to, you know, provide a great experience with the sound, not with the art, although artwork is coming up. I know I keep saying that, but you know, just wait. There will be an update very soon, hopefully. Anywho, sorry for talking way too long. You can follow Tom Freeman Audio Effects on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And for more information, you can contact me at tomfreemanaudioeffects@gmail.com. And, you know, please like and subscribe to this video and hit the notification icon to be able to see updates for future videos. Hope you enjoyed the video.